Hello and welcome to Real Hi-Fi Help. In this video I'm going to be discussing the solution that is better than by-wire, the solution that no one talks about. And hello and welcome again. So here we have a set of speaker terminals, one side, let's just call it the left side. And what you basically want to do is do what no one really does in the business, but I've seen it done like once or twice, and that is to put a set of cables on the inside, then you close the terminal, same here, and you connect that to the speaker in the same way, and you do the same on the outside with a different set of cables. So 2 times single wires on each, inside and outside, just like I showed you. What this does is that it makes the music magical, because suddenly you have a lot more threads. See, the problem is when you go for a single wire speaker cable, there's only so many threads that is physically possible to put on those banana plugs or spades or whatever. And this makes it possible. See, you might think that, okay, why don't I just use a by-wire? But the problem is that with a by-wire cable, you still have about the same amount of threads on a cable, and then you divide them to spread on the by-wire speaker. See, you're not really solving the problem there. It might sometimes sound better because you just remove the connectors directly on the speaker, connectors being these things here. It can to some degree sound better, but you're still having a problem of delivering enough power because lacking the amount of threads that is possible. So, and when you do this, make sure that you use both sets of single wire cables in the same length, so both sets that are 3 or 4 meters, for example, and trying to use some similar plugs, because it's not just because of overloading the speaker or the amplifier, but it's also to give a more similar sound. This is a perfect example of what I mean. This is the Verity, Verity Sarastro 2, costing about 50,000 euros. One of the best speakers ever in the world. Fantastic bass, middle range, and ribbon tweeter. This has actually got the best ribbon tweeter I've ever heard. And I've heard some pretty good ones costing a lot more than this speaker. Not a terribly big speaker, but pretty big anyway. This is a fantastic example of removing these connectors, as you can see here. The lower ones are for the bass, and the top ones are for the middle range and the tweeter. When I heard this the first time, I heard this trick being done on this speaker. And I just can't stress enough how big a difference it does to your sound. What it does is that it takes the standard sound and just like throws it completely away, and then you get especially a better mid-range and treble that is so much more natural, so much more stable, and you get away from this like showy hi-fi plingity pling type of sound that has focus on raw detail, and guitar picking and all that fastness, and you get over to it basically feels like this speaker here has a 6-inch middle range. When I heard this the first time, I thought, oh my god, the middle range sounds like it's gone from 6 inches to 8 inches. And that doesn't sound like a lot, but what it does is that it just gives you so much more grunt, attack, naturalness, and you can just turn the volume of the music a lot more up without it being too edgy, too over analytical. So simply a fantastic tweak, especially when you've got a smaller middle range and a very revealing treble. You really notice that this tip here gives you a hell of a lot more for more value. But of course, you have to pay for an extra speaker cable, so it is going to cost you. So let me just I've written some things here. Remember that you generally only want a speaker cable from 2.5 to 4 meters long. The longer the cable, the more relaxed and mellow the sound is with less attack. So you get a generally more warm-ish type of sound the longer the cable is. The shorter it is, the more coupling, focus, attack, and reaction you get. So you basically only want to do that with better gear. If you're having problems with your system, if you think that it's over analytical and lacking a creamy and bass rich sound or middle range, then you probably don't want a shorter cable, because a shorter cable is going to be more critical of what's going on in your system. Basically, it's like this. You want to, in a system, have cables that are as short as possible to give you the best sound as possible. Now, that is a thing that works in theory, because most people have a system that isn't very good, that isn't high quality in components. So that all works good in theory, but applying that to the real world, it's you actually have to go the opposite of that. So let me just explain. The better the system you have, the shorter the cable that you can go with, because the more you reveal the good stuff that's going on in your system. So you don't want to with the cheapest worst system in the world. You don't want really short cables, because then you're just gonna hear all the bad stuff going on. So it's just to tell you guys that there is a solution for that. So longer cables are basically used to compensate with, to stretch the sound a bit, to make it more relaxed. Now, another thing that's also very interesting, so the shorter cables give a more tight, edgy sound that can be a bit too much on some systems. It will also give you more power, more focus, more detail, but just be careful you don't go too short. 2.5 meters long speaker cables. That is like the shortest ever you ever want to go. And there's also the physical problem of having the cables reach from your amplifier to the speakers. They might not even be able to reach at around 2.5 meters. You also have to think about that. So shorter cables are generally for better systems that are warmer, above average, and you don't want shorter cables on a bad system, like I just said. I think that's basically it. What I wanted to convey in this video here. I'm going to make a video later on cables in general, just to give you guys some guidance. It's a bit of a jungle out there. A lot of people think that cables are BS, but most cables actually are. But there are some few that are really good. But it's not so much about the individual brands and the models. It's more about understanding exactly what type of cables to use and how they are built, and how to combine them with the proper plugs, and just pairing that with the equipment that you have. So I'm going to be making a video about that later. So really good tip for you guys. And you could also do this with a set of audio note speakers, for example. I think they're really good speakers to have. They're probably also something like Peak Consult. I'm not sure if they're running by-wire or whatever they're running, but just having a lot of threads basically converts more power from your amplifier to the speaker, giving it a better coupling function. So a really, really good tip for you guys. So that was all for today, and remember to like and subscribe. Bye.